Hello and welcome to Stir Crazy Art Classes with Gerald Savine, lesson number 47. If you look over here, I've adapted this photograph. I've left out some things of the tree here. I replaced that with flowers just to finish off the painting here, and also here I've worked through here, and you can see I've finished off all the trees here. But you can see how the brush strokes really bring the shapes in of the trees, and that's purely just to how you put the paint onto and brush it onto the picture. Finished up the top there as well, bring more colour into the trees up there. So what we're going to do this morning is we're going to work on the path here, the greenery over this side. I'll be again a bit of artistic license going on here. Then we'll get the pond done. So what I'm going to do is crack on straight away with the paved area here. Now what I've done is I've mixed up some burnt umber and some ultramarine blue, more blue here. Once it goes on thinly, it has quite a feeling of being a grey colour. Now that's gone on quite dark there, but then as we pull, but you notice that I'm going the same way that the lines are, the perspective in the path is. Again, it's just amazing how important it is. Just pull it through there. Again, if they're not all the same colour, it doesn't matter too much. The same weight of. Again, it can make it a little more interesting. But again, here I'm pulling the paintbrush that way, and of course, as we come across the page, the angle will change because the perspective changes. It's amazing how, as I've said when we did lesson 5, it's a long time ago now, I said how important it is thinking about perspective and how it works. And again, for when even with something like this, it just makes a difference. So again, it's gone quite dark there. Again, I won't worry about that. There's a bit of pavement over here. So again, I'm coming this way, but it has changed the direction. I'm just going to thin that down a little bit. There we go. I'll leave that for the moment. So I'll be as quick as I can, because we've got to. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just pull this across here. I'm going to leave this now because I think and I can always come back to this. I will, while I'm here, manage to get my fingers on it, but never mind. Bring it across there. Make sure we've got a tidy edge, but again, pulling here, and of course there's a bit of shaping going on here with the ground. So there we go. That's going to be like that. Now what I'm going to do now is very quickly start knocking in some of the greenery in the foreground over here, leaving a bit of space in between so that we can bring in some of the colours of the flowers. I've already been working with some green. I'm going to squeeze. In fact, what I'll do is I'll pinch the green I've got over here. I was using, and so here we've got some greenery. Again, I'm just going to bring it up like that. Down here we've got slightly more leafy. So again, we plonk the colour on to give a feeling of the leaves that might be on some sort of plants that are here. Leave some space for the flowers to be. I'm going to bring a little bit more of the blue in here, just a bit more interest, thin it down a bit. Again, here we can give a slightly lighter feel. Just imagine what the leaves going up the side of the plant. I don't want to frighten you people that are more into your flower paintings than myself, but at the end of the day, it's the overall effect that matters. Again, I'm picking up some of the blue and the green, the sap green, give a slightly stronger colouring, give a bit sort of feeling of shadow going on. Bringing a bit more of the blue mixed in with it. Now this is a cerulean blue, not the ultramarine blue, which is a much darker green, which is what we were using in the trees, the conifer trees. Now here I've got some interesting plants. I'm going to see if I can recreate how these ones are. So it's been pick up a bit of interest. Thinning this on this occasion, thinning the paint down, so it's still that sort of misty greeny colour that you sometimes get, almost like miniature conifer trees in a way. The way these bits are, and we hope we can paint the water around them. Bear in mind we've got this session and one more to go after this one, so we'll see how far we get now. But I don't want to go beyond the number 48 for doing this. Again, hopefully this will give you inspiration to work up, and again looking back at the original photograph to get some ideas. But again here there's nothing wrong with using a bit of artistic license and changing things around a bit. Don't be frightened to do that. I'm doing a bit of yellow, deliberately here making a bit of difference to the green. So we're going to have now I know it's not like this on the photograph, but I'm putting in some lighter colouring leaves here. We've got some plants going on. I'll perhaps bung some colours in for flowers. But I say again, never, don't move things around as you want. Like up here, I've brought this up here, which doesn't exist on the photograph, but to make a stop to the painting. So I say never use your photographs, or even if you go out and paint originally out in the outside, you can always move things around to make the composition. So don't always just be reliant on exactly what you see in front of you. Use it for inspiration. That's a good word, isn't it? This time of day as well, I don't know. And again here I'm just bringing some bits of darker in here just to reinforce the shapes of the leaves. As I say, my ability as a flower artist, botanical artist should I say, isn't amazing, but as you can see from up here, when it's done and dried and you stand back from your painting, you'll be surprised just at how much better it looks than you think it was at the time. It's quite often much better to see a painting the following day when things are settled down. You can see it with fresh eyes. You can see it from a slight distance as well. Now what I'm going to do is I'm bringing a bit of ultramarine here, if I can get the thing undone. By the way, I was going to say, you've got lots of paint gone around the top there. To try and avoid that, when you got your paint out, if you're very careful, you can just squeeze the bottom of the tube and it can suck. You can't see it happening, to be honest with you, but you can suck some of that paint in so it doesn't spread so much. The other thing is never stick your paintbrush down the tube when it's wet, because you'll land up with hard paint at the entrance to your tube and you never get the paint out. I'm afraid that it's a hard lesson for some of the people that come to the classes when they're having to find they can't get their paint out of the tubes, and you don't want to waste what's inside. And this is, although these particular paints aren't that expensive, you don't want to be spending more money than necessary on your gear. So again, I'm just bringing a bit of dark colouring into here, into the foreground, just a bit of character, just to help settle the painting down there, because at the moment it looks all a bit rough, which is, and I haven't even got to the water yet. But that's what I'm going to do, is I'm just going to leave that a moment. I'm going to get this off. Now, just for the moment, I'm going to pop back and I'm washing my brush out in a different pot of water because they don't want the green that's in there is quite strong. I'm going to come back and I'm just going to put some more colour into these paths here. I've been watching the time. We've still got about another 4 minutes before we have to stop. We'll be looking at in the next session we'll be looking at painting the water, so hopefully it'll all work out nicely. Again, this hopefully will give you a feeling of what to do and how to approach it, now this we can make quite dark because it's the edge there, the stone edge. Let's thin this down a little bit now on top here, just to give a slightly different colouring feeling to the things, and then we're just going to another couple of minutes and we will have to call it a session. So there we go, as you might have heard that for another 3 minutes, so that's not too bad. What I'd like to get done anyway. Here's a bit thinner, and here we've got the edge of the pond with working round. So that's that for the moment. Now this one's very quickly. I want to get some colour. I'm using some raw umber that I'd already had mixed up. I was using when I was working earlier on the painting the other side. I'm just going to dab it in here. Not very convincing, but it's just make a difference between the plants and the ground. And again here, just get a bit of colouring into the ground. Again, it does always amazes me how the following day or later on in the day, when it's all dry, it looks a bit more convincing than at this stage. And also when you're right on top of it. There's a wonderful painting in the Tate Gallery in London at the reception area of Mr. Tate, the sponsor of the museum. And when you see it close up, it's just dabs of colour, greens and all purples and reds and all sorts of colours. When you see it from the other side of the reception area, it looks like a fantastic portrait painting. It's just amazing. How the colour works when you get back from it. Now here, whoops, I'm getting the wrong colour in there. This is burnt umber now. I'm just going to dab this in places, bit of shadow underneath some of the plants. And so you have to forgive me for being quite quick. We're just about coming up to the time, about another couple of minutes I think to go. Yeah, so I don't want to run out of time before I say goodbye to you until the next session. So I'm just dabbing in bits in here, bits in there. I'm not going to go right up there with the colour because we're going to be having the water showing through. Oops, wrong one. Don't put brown in, washing your brush out in the green pot. But there we go, just that's for the moment. We'll call that a session. And what I just finally, very, very quickly, getting the brush nice and thin. I'm just going to pinch the end of the brush so it's flat, and I'm just going to bring a little bit of colour in between the grouting of the paving slabs. Again, just identifying the direction that things are going in. I think there we can call that a session now. So the camera moves away, and I'll just... Right, okay, well thank you, and see you again at the next session.